What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? Joker back again once again, and today we are talking about Void 3.0. Now, originally I didn't cover this in my Witch Queen Vidoc commentary video, whatever you would call it, simply because we really didn't get enough information about the Void 3.0 rework from the Vidoc. And to be fair, this is something I'll talk about more in depth later, because honestly I still don't think we have quite enough information to really wrap our heads around all the changes. But Bungie did bless us with a 7-page, 2,425 word preview? Question mark? But yeah, nobody's got time for that. I mean, really, nearly 1,000 words of this document is devoted to the thought process as to why they've done what they've done with Void, which is okay, but most of it seems like kinda hype, pre-expansion release, bloated marketing speak, which can be summed up in a few sentences, like, we haven't changed Void since 2017, and our changes in 2017 were a reaction to Destiny 1. When moving Void from its current iteration to Void 3.0, it was important to give the Void classes their own identity, and that identity is suppress. The target is taken out of any active ability when suppressed. While suppressed, the target cannot activate any abilities or movement modes. Combatants are disoriented, weaken, targets take increased damage, has slowed movement, and is disoriented. Volatile. The target will explode in a void detonation upon taking additional damage. If the target dies before Volatile has taken enough damage to detonate, the detonation happens anyway. Invisibility. The player vanishes from sight and does not appear on radar. Overshield. The player gains a protective barrier that immediately stacks on top of their existing health and shields, and intercepts incoming damage. Overshield reduces the damage taken from PvE combatants. Devour. The player is immediately restored to full health upon activating Devour from any source and is granted grenade energy. When the player gets any kill with Devour active, they are restored to full health, granted grenade energy, and their Devourer buff timer is extended. And yeah, that's the summation of the first half of the preview. I know, I should be grateful. I mean, I could have easily read that entire thing and padded this video out a good half hour, with ads like, I don't know, every 5 minutes. But do you know what I'm truly grateful for, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? The sponsor of today's video, Keeps. So imagine, if you will, follow me, we're about to go on a journey. You are a Void Warlock. You are able to use the Nothing Manacles. You are so excited to see these return, and you get them. And now you can throw enhanced tracking scatter grenades. And so you're in the Crucible, and you chunk one at a foe, only for it to do nothing and patter off into the distance far behind them. But not to worry, you're behind cover. So you go and you spend the next 10 seconds putting down your rift, while the person you threw a grenade at proceeds to catheterize you with a shotgun. You lost a DPS race, you never even started. It sucks, doesn't it? Gets you mad. Maybe even a little stressed out. Did you know that stress can lead to hair loss? Yeah, fun fact. Did you also know that 2 out of 3 guys will experience hair loss by the time they're 35? Which is where today's sponsor comes in. Keeps is an online, order-to-door hair loss service that offers clinically proven, doctor-recommended, research-backed hair loss treatments. Straight to customers, typically at half the cost of pharmacy prices. The best part? All treatment plans are personalized. Look, going bald is never easy. Lots of shine your head for a nickel jokes, and the constant keep up when it comes to shaving what is decided to remain. Provided you're not going for that abject denial of reality, just accept it already, dude. Comb over look. It is insanity, and perhaps it's no wonder why most villains in comics and movies are bald, because at that point, once it's all gone, you really only have 3 paths in life. Grow a beard and hope for the best, get into the glorious house of Gaines and put on 50 pounds of muscle, or become Dr. Evil. But if you're not ready to make one of those 3 choices, then Keeps is here to help you. Look, jokes aside, whether you're looking to prevent hair loss, stimulate growth, or just take better care of the hair you have, Keeps has you covered. The hair loss stops with Keeps. To get 50% off your first order, go to keeps.com/buttjoker or click the link in the description below. That's keeps.com/BUTJOKER. I would also like to take a moment to thank Keeps for sponsoring the channel. And with that, back to your regularly scheduled program. Alright. Now that Papa Joker has paid the bills, let's get into it. Titans first, bring a shield. A void-enabled Titan is the Starwood shield of a fire team, whether serving up a Ward of Dawn's protective bubble to withstand furious enemy assault, or charging the battlefield, shield in hand, mowing down opponents, one shield toss at a time. Previously, two supers, Ward of Dawn and Sentinel Shield, were tied to one another from a control standpoint, so that Titans had to use a similar input and sit through a chunk of Sentinel Shield activation animation before the Ward bubble was created. The Titan's Ward of Dawn. With Void 3.0, the two functions are separated, which means that the Ward of Dawn is now nearly instantly activated. Yes! Finally! Look, I'll read the rest in a second, but this is basically my commentary on this whole splitting of the Ward of Dawn and Sentinel Shield. The other night, and last night, actually, I was doing the Grasp of Avarice dungeon. We're on the Ogre, and my good old buddy, my good old pal, my good old friend, the designated Defender Titan, didn't quite hold down the button for the 2.7 seconds or whatever required to get Ward of Dawn instead of Sentinel Shield. And so we're sitting there like, oh, yay. Now we're gonna have to two-phase this boss, watching as our Defender Titan flails around at the Ogre's feet, doing basically no damage whatsoever. And then he ends up doing it back to back. And both times were an accident. You know, it happens, Defender Titans. 2 out of 3 Titans, tend to misclick their super button. But hey, with today's sponsor, Void 3.0, you don't have to anymore. Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. But I digress, back to the article. With Void 3.0, the two functions are separated, which means that the Ward of Dawn is now nearly instantly activated. In addition, the Ward of Dawn has been moved to the fastest super cooldown tier, making it much more available to Titans in need. This change means that it's a much better reactionary defensive tool, says Destiny Design Mike Humboldt. So, as an example, if a hunter were to jump at you and cast Blade Barrage, the Titan can now pretty reliably activate Ward of Dawn before any of the enemy's super lands and survive as a result. Just as before, Sentinel Shield will allow Titans to traverse the battlefield, bashing foes with their Void Shield, or tossing their shield as a melee attack. Thrown shields will damage opponents and apply Volatile if Controlled Demolition is equipped, while Shield Bash kills will grant a full Overshield. So as I stated earlier, this is a fantastic change, and I do mean that unironically. Hell, this is quite possibly one of the best quality of life changes to come to Destiny in a long time. And while I understand that some people will miss the utility of being able to pick either or based on how long they hold down a button, all I can say is spec into what you need for what you're about to do. But moving forward, there are 3 Titan aspects to choose with Void 3.0. Controlled Demolition. Hitting a target with a Void ability or Volatile Detonation will make them volatile. Bastion. Creating a barricade generates overshield for you and your nearby allies. Those bunkering behind the shield will regenerate overshield over time and extend the overshield's duration. Offensive Bulwark. While you have overshield or are inside a Ward of Dawn, grenades charge significantly faster, and you have increased melee damage. You also gain an additional shield throw for your Sentinel Shield super. So given that we don't have the full picture, the way that abilities will work quite yet, this on paper, honestly, looks like kind of a nerf. Offensive Bulwark sounds like a worse version of Code of the Protector's entire melee cycle. Code of the Protector gives you and your allies health on melee kills, any melee kills, and Overshield if you have your melee ability and get a kill. Then there's the ability Turn the Tide, which makes it to where your Overshield from defensive strike lasts longer and increases melee damage and reload speed. Now before anyone goes, "But Joker!" and whinges on about me like sounding like I'm criticizing, rest your weary little heads. I'm not. What I am pointing out is we don't really know enough to remotely speculate about these classes. All the things I'm saying that this looks like kind of a nerf to what they already can do could be fixed through the aspect and fragment system, or it could be fixed through longer text on a melee option. We don't know. So making any judgment calls, I'm sorry, this isn't stasis where it's kinda fucking obvious, but no one seems to see it or want to admit it because they're way too hyped, is a little too premature, even for me. If it launches like this and there's no caveats, it looks like a nerf. But aspects and fragments, exotic interplay, build crafting, like I said, we won't know until we know. Now moving on to classes that I do not play. The Hunter's Vanishing Step. In addition to the Spectral Blade Super, the Shadow Shot variants that Hunters are accustomed to, Deadfall and Mobius Quiver, will be found in Void 3.0 updates, though there are some changes to be aware of. For example, Mobius Quiver will fire a volley of 3 arrows that will now track targets and make them volatile if they are tethered. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I very well could be. I don't play Hunter, but wasn't there a tether in Destiny 1 that would tether enemies and then once one died, it would like explode a bunch of them or kill a bunch of them, something like that? This sounds kind of like that. Which, hey, was great for ad control. And I just happen to have a sneaking suspicion, given the buffs to weapons and how they affect red health enemies, that ads and ad control is going to be a huge aspect of the raid. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Maybe I just want the raid to be scorn and taken, which would require a lot of ad control. In addition, with Deadfall, the void anchors that are dropped after shadow shots will now pull enemies towards it when it impacts a surface or a target. The Hunter's Snare Bomb melee ability will now weaken opponents. In PvP, players caught in a Snare Bomb will have their HUD removed and an obscuring screen effect applied for a short period of time. Hunters will have 3 aspects to select from with Void 3.0. Trapper's Ambush. You can activate Quickfall to spend their melee charge and dive to the ground, creating a smoke cloud upon impact. Enemies caught in the cloud are weakened and allies become invisible. In addition, snare bombs, upon attaching to surfaces or enemies, cause nearby allies to become invisible. Vanishing Step. Dodging makes the hunter invisible. Stylish Executioner. A void debuff target, weakened, suppressed, or volatile, grants invisibility and true sight. While invisible and after a stylish execution, your next melee attack weakens enemies. So 2 words, Omni Oculus. If that works as I think it does, you're going to have 100% uptime on your smoke bomb in PvP. In fact, you kind of already do have 100% uptime on your smoke bomb, but this does sound like it'll make it easier to keep it that way. And let me tell you, like, don't sleep on camouflaging your entire team and having this entire team just 6-stack and run from cap point to cap point invisible as just this wall of invisible bullets, because teams do not expect it. And let me tell you, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, invisible ballistic slam into a team of 6 while wearing Dune Marchers. They just didn't know what happened. They panicked and they died. It was beautiful. Quite possibly some of the most fun I've had in PvP in a long time. As for the rest of the kit, I don't actually know how effective this is going to be in high-end PvE content. Let's face it, we already have a lot of weapons in the game that allow players to do this exact same thing from across the map. Players don't have to get in close and risk getting one-shot meleeed by an enemy just so that they can melee them, maybe under a very specific condition, to get a damage bonus. It's all going to depend on the risk reward. How much is this debuff worth? Is it worth me potentially getting one shot in a GM? More so when somebody can just be at the back of the map with Divinity? I don't know. We'll have to see. And last, and most certainly least, Void Warlocks. I kid. Void Fang Vestments back when? So I can go back to playing a Void Warlock? I mean, what's the point of playing a Void Warlock if you're not wearing the best looking Warlock chest piece? Doesn't matter if it functions well, just it's the best looking one in Destiny history. And I mean default, not an ornament from the cash shop. The Nova Warp Super lets Warlocks quickly teleport from one spot to the next, and players can choose to let loose a deadly Void Eruption. With the Vortex Super Enhancement, a player's Nova Bomb will now draw enemies into the singularity it creates, damaging them once inside. Casting a Nova Bomb with the Cataclysm Enhancement will cause it to travel across the battlefield and seek out enemies. Detonation will shatter into smaller seeker projectiles, and shooting the Nova Bomb will cause it to detonate early. So basically what the Void Warlock supers all do now? The Warlock's melee, Pocket Singularity, fires an unstable ball of void energy that detonates when it's near enemies, pushing them away from the blast and making them volatile. According to Destiny designer Mike Hambold, he expects this melee will find particular use in the Crucible. We did a lot of PvP testing, and knocking somebody who's trying to shotgun rush you off the map with a Pocket Singularity is always a good time. Real talk, I think this is why Chaperone finally got nerfed. Void Warlocks in the playtests were like, it's good, but Chaperone always gets the trade, so maybe we rein Chaperone in a bit. And then Pocket Singularity is awesome. Chaos Accelerant. Hold down the grenade button to overcharge your Vortex, Axion Bolt, Scatter, and Magnetic Grenade. Magnetic grenades overcharge into handheld Supernova. Ooh, that's a spicy meatball. Feed the Void. Defeat an enemy with a Void ability to activate Devour. Oh, I mean, child of the old gods. Huh. Look. Minor nitpick. I know, Joker's nitpicking something, everybody freak out. I just think there was an opportunity, and that opportunity was missed. Yes, but anyways, child of the old gods. Cast your Rift to summon a Void Soul. When you damage an enemy with your weapon, your Void Soul will launch itself towards them and detonate nearby, attaching draining tendrils, which deal damage and weaken the target. When your Void Soul deals damage, it restores either melee and grenade energy, if running Health Rift, or health if running Empowering Rift, back to you. Defeating an enemy who is being drained grants Rift energy. So this is the class with quite possibly the most questions behind it, because is it going to be OP or is it going to be redundant? Can you still consume your grenade to activate Devourer? There's a handful of exotics that you look at, and you look at this class's aspects and fragments, or at least the announced ones, and you're like, these kinda do the same thing. And let's be real, let's be honest, let's be real honest. While all of this is cute in a single player experience or in PvP, in high-end PvE, everybody's still going to want well locks. This doesn't really bring anything to the table, in my opinion, that is going to change that. And you know what? That's okay. Not everything has to be good at everything, but I do think there was a missed opportunity to give Warlocks something else to play in high-end PvE. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did. Subscribe for more. Feel free to donate to my Patreon, it really helps the channel out. But like always, stay frosty.